Huh, that is actually kind of cool. And then when we switch it, this is the stiff one now. Oh yeah, look at that. It actually works. Oh, that is a very big difference. The mounting style in this board is so interesting that it almost makes me want an MX version of this. But we'll see. We'll take a look. Maybe it's not as fun in person, but on paper, it looked really cool. This is a Hall Effect keyboard today, which if you guys know, I kind of did fall down the Hall Effect rabbit hole, but I'm using primarily only Hall Effect stuff to game right now. So I've been really enjoying it. It's been very handy to have software that you can just quickly adjust things per video game. Like, it's nice to have a good suite of software to go along with these keyboards, which is something we're going to take a look at today. This is an interesting one because I haven't actually unboxed this. I was waiting for you guys for this. But yeah, let's take a look. A75 Ultra. So again, let's take a look at their webpage, because I actually think this is a, like I said, a pretty cool looking board. On paper, we'll kind of go through it. I really like the mounting style of this board. I think it's actually kind of novel and really sweet. Some other stuff about the board, it's about 200 US right now. It's going to have some of their self-developed switches, which they're saying are better than some of the TTC switches they've used in the past, which they're called their Key-End switches. We'll see. I don't really know. We'll take a look. It's inspired by fighter jets, which I'll be honest, I really don't get that vibe. But the main thing for me out of this is I want to see how the switches are. I want to see how this mounting style is. And then I also want to see the software. The software is a big point. I'm going to say this with love. That's probably the most important thing about Hall Effect keyboards. If your software sucks, it doesn't matter how good your product is. For Hall Effect stuff, that's really the biggest key point that I feel like brands kind of miss out on sometimes. I have tested a crap ton of HE stuff at this point here, so we'll see how this one here stacks up. But yeah, let's share screen here. So this is the board here. You can see a pretty out there design. Might not be for everyone, but I do want to try swapping out keycaps today. This is the inside of the keyboard. It uses this floating suspension system. Now, this is what has me stuck on this board right now. I'm like, I really want to try this. It has like even a little toggle on the back in which you can swap between a stiff and lighter suspension. Sort of similar to what Asus did with their gaming keyboard, just without the Asus crazy pricing of $600+. But this is a pretty interesting mounting system. All right, and then this is kind of just building the board here, but and then it does have some RT match, competitive mode, extreme mode, so we'll have a bunch of different things to check here. It is using some of the more latest Hall Effect sensor chips, which for the average person, you might not notice some of this stuff while you play. Great for gamers though. I was reading some feedback about this board too. A lot of people are saying the latency on this board is really good. It competes with all the rest of the stuff on the market, the high-end stuff, which is good to hear as well. And then just some other stuff. Again, instant switch, we'll take a look at that too, see how well that works. A lot of people did also say they really liked the keycaps here, which we'll see. Rapid trigger. We'll go through the software after we take a look at the board though. All right, let's take a look at the board. Again, I've been seeing this everywhere on socials, and I've been kind of wanting to take a look at it, so I'm really happy that we actually get to take a look at this. Is this like an instruction book? Holy crap, this is gigantic. I mean, I appreciate that. Little quick functionality thing. Accessories, I assume, which we'll take a look at here in a bit. Ooh, they sent the silver one. Very nice. I'm also going to measure things like front height and whatnot, because I think that's also important to take a look at. Are you guys interested in Hall Effect, by the way? I know last time we covered some Hall Effect stuff, a lot of people said they were interested in it, but just waiting for everything to kind of catch up. This layout is one of my favorites. So I have a few Hall Effect boards. Most of them, with the exception of one, are 60% or 65s. I've been itching for something a little bit bigger. This layout might become one of my new favorites. The back is cool. I actually do like the back of this board. I don't think this is tacky looking. It's kind of cool. And then there's that switch that you would either push in or pull out for the stiffer or the bouncier mounting style, which I think is really cool. There's push-in feet to get to the screws and whatnot, which is also a nice little thing here. Actually, is this one here adhesive? This one here actually is adhesive. Would have been nice to see two push-on feet. So I'll deliver some immediate criticism there. In terms of like the ano quality, I wouldn't say this is like super up to what I'm used to. Like it is more of like a speckled silver. Kind of maybe hard to tell here. Completely nice. Like, I still need to wipe this down, but very, very nice still. It's just not as clear as some of the more high-end anos. And the machining seems pretty decent too. There's no real like crazy edges on this, so I wouldn't really say there's anything to write home about here. Some DrunkDeer branding on the front, which I would have preferred that on the back, personally. And let's actually measure our front height here to the feet. About 22, so it is a little higher. If you're gonna measure to the little lip on the front, yeah, we'd be looking at like 18-ish to the lip. There's a small little lip, not caused by like a cherry lip, but just the keyboard itself. Here's the side profile. Actually, it's a pretty cool looking side profile too. It looks lower than it is, and again, maybe because this little lip on the front. Very cool. I don't mind the side profile of this at all. This is actually quite unique. Definitely stands out from the crowd of gamer stuff. Like I said, we're going to be sort of pseudo taking this apart. There's actually not much to see inside, kind of like what you guys saw in the little breakdown. But the main thing I wanted to do today is just test the software and then also swap out keycaps. Although a lot of people I spoke to said the keycaps were phenomenal on this. I think they're just okay looking. Feeling-wise, they feel really nice, but we'll take some off and then also measure those too. I really like the layout of this. This might quickly become something I reach for on video games. Exploded arrows are great for a gaming cube too. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. In my honest opinion, as you can find them without... Yes, I agree with that too. I think this is a great layout for gaming. I play Tarkov a lot. Like, that's been like my main game these days. And I need F keys. So I use the 60% ducky, and I have function bound to things, but sometimes I have to look down on the keyboard and really just like figure out what I'm clicking. I don't love the keycaps. That is like, visually, I'm just not a big fan, but I feel like we can put anything else on this and it's gonna look sweet. Actually, you know what? First, let's do a little sound test with this. The knob's nice. Yeah, this is a knob on the corner here. It's actually quite a nice knob. Feels good. All right, let's do a little quick sound test of this guy. So this is stock. We haven't done anything yet. I do like the alphas a lot. The mods are all good. Spacebar is rather sharp. And I wonder if there's just any sort of like tab underneath the spacebar. I have to take a look at the plate itself here. But honestly, it doesn't feel like too bad at all. There's some backlight RGB to this, but it is kind of low. Mainly because I have studio lights on. Yeah, it's a Hall Effect keyboard. It's also a bit foamy. It's... Most of the Hall Effect stuff I've tried, I still haven't got myself a Hall Effect board that matches the sound profiles that come out of mechanical keyboards, that clacky sound. Most most Hall Effect stuff has been this type of sound profile. Best stock keyboard for the Hall Effect stuff, I'll give this credit. I do like this a lot. I still think the Ducky is a little nicer sound profile right out of the box. Like, if you're just going to buy something, you don't want to tweak anything, I did like the Ducky sound profile a little bit more. Like I said, I've been going down a rabbit hole of Hall Effect stuff. Ooh. I don't love this part. I mean, this you won't even see, but it's actually a really nice stock cable. That is quite nice. It's kind of rare that we get, like, decent stock cables. Oh, that is really nice, actually. We get some extra keys here. Some extra feet, I assume, or I guess these are taller feet if you want to change the angle. And these are the switches. So these are the key-in switches that they put. Yeah, these are it. These are nice. These are actually really nice. Who's the menu? That's a great question. It just says Raisha on these. I'm not too sure if that's a manufacturer in the Hall Effect space. Let's find out. These just have a nice like overall feel. Like they're clearly stock lubricated. This is their own switch. It's self-developed according to them, which is called the Key-on switch. Okay, so there's a minimal amount of lube on this. Very, very small. I don't know if even my camera will be able to pick this up, but I'll try my best to show you guys. It's just on the slider. Right there, you guys can kind of see it. A little bit of lubricant. Interesting, they have the magnet on a separate piece underneath the stem over here. And that just rests on top of the spring, it looks like. Yeah, it rests on top of the spring. Very, very interesting. I really like the spring feeling on these too. I do want to take a look at the software, which is going to be the big important thing for me here. By the way, I'm actually going to do a full write-up on this board too, just because I really have been enjoying doing those and like stuff that I want to learn more about as well. So I'll be doing a full write-up after I probably use it for a few days. Oh, actually, let's see that mounting system as well, how that changes when we do it. So right now it's on... Oh, wow, that is very... Huh, that is actually kind of cool. And then when we switch it, this is the stiff one now. Oh, yeah, look at that. It actually works. Oh, that is a very big difference. That is so cool. Yeah, a little bit. It does change the sound profile. Let's go back and forth here. Ah, a little bit. It's not huge. It's like slightly there. I can kind of hear it. I don't know what I like more on this. I do like being given an option though, if you want it to be a softer keyboard or a firmer keyboard. That is a cool feature. Interesting. And now let's take a closer look at these keycaps too. So they're PBT as far as I know. Let's triple check the bottom or the page here. They do look a little bit thinner. We're looking at a 1 millimeter thick keycap. So definitely not the thickest I've seen, but they look pretty good quality. Yes, we will be taking a look at that 2444. But it does sound interesting. I think that's the word. Yeah, I wonder too if we swap to something like ABS like I normally would use, because that's what I end up doing for all my keyboards. Oh, they have like a dampener over here. Do you guys see this underneath the spacebar? This is actually super popular. I see so many people do these things nowadays. The dampener. I wonder if we remove that, if that opens up the sound profile a bit. Well, the thing is with foam and Hall effect, unfortunately, guys, you kind of do need to sort of have it in some cases. Oh, that sounds so much better. I mean, I like this more without the giant silicone dampeners underneath. I like that these are quickly removable, though. That is kind of nice. A little bit, I mean, probably the PBT. That's why we're going to switch to ABS. One thing I will say is the stabs are not the best. I can hear a little bit of rattle. Are these plate mounted? They are plate mounted. It does look like I can see a lot of kind of lube oozing out on one of the sides. Definitely not the best stabs I've tried in the Hall effect board so far. I would say, like, in terms of ratings, the Boog and the Ducky had the best stabilizers so far. The Wooting was okay, and I would say this kind of lands a little bit below the Wooting for stabilizers. Not the end of the world, though. This is quite an easy fix. If you have a syringe of lube, pretty easy fix. Again, I feel like I need to say this all the time. Guys, there's nothing wrong with plate-mounted stabs. I feel like people have been like indoctrinated to hate plate-mounted stabs. There's nothing wrong with them. There's a little bit of wobble with these though, so I think some tighter tolerances around the plate. You might also have to band-aid mod these. And when I say band-aid mod, usually you're just kind of adding a layer of something around the plate. But yeah, there's usually nothing wrong with stabs, like plate-mounted stabs. People kind of give it a bad name for no reason, dude. Now, here's what we're going to do now. I'm going to put some ABS keycaps on, and then we're going to take a look at the software. I do like the way it looks a lot. This is a beautiful looking keyboard this way. They have a web-based piece of software, which we'll take a look at here in a moment, but let's plug these in. This is pretty close to what it sounded like with the other keycaps. I wouldn't say this is like crazy different. Maybe a little bit brighter. But let's put back these silicone pieces. I do, again, like that these are removable quickly. Oh, okay. So that's pretty nice with the ABS spacebar, the GMK spacebar. with the silicone back in. I think I prefer it with the silicone in for the ABS. The alphas are really nice. Yeah, the mods definitely need some tweaking here. Dude, I love the way this feels. This is, again, a very difficult thing to portray, but the fact that this is so bouncy, like, it is a nice feeling keyboard. It is a loud spacebar. I think, again, with the way this keyboard works, I would have liked maybe a better way to go in and mod the keyboard, but it's 8K polling as well. Yeah, we'll go through the PCB specs here in a second. This is with the stiff one now, so now it's not going to move at all. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, okay, sound-wise, I don't think this is the best stock sound I've seen out of a keyboard. Again, I'm going to give that to Ducky still. I think Ducky wins. Hands down, Ducky wins for me. There hasn't been a board that sounds as good as the one that Ducky made out of the box. I would say this is like, but I think the Boog was a little nicer than this one. The Boog was definitely more foamy sounding and wasn't as like harsh. This is a bit more harsh. I would say, like, out of all the ones I've tried, that comes stock. I'm not saying ones you have to mod yourself. This is probably like third place when it comes to sound. Feeling wise, I don't think any keyboard has done it better than this though. Right away, I can already tell I'm in love with the way this feels when you have the suspension system on the bouncy style. Fantastic. I don't think I've even come close to a keyboard in the Hall effect. I mean, dude, even outside of just the Hall effect scene, this is such a cool mechanism and definitely the star of the show for this board. Like, this is nice and soft. I really like this without being like mushy, you know what I mean? All right, so here is the web-based software. So we have rapid trigger mode. So this says triggered once pressed, reset once released. And I've heard the rapid trigger here was pretty short, so which is really nice. I actually like leaving that on. Dual trigger, what does this say? Customize these actions. Okay, so that I'll have to experiment with. With last win mode, keyboard prioritizes your last keystroke. Oh, nice. The turbo mode, once activated, any keystroke will be tracked and multiple keystrokes can be tracked simultaneously. Turbo mode can significantly minimize input latency. Once activated, the lighting effect will become static. See, that is something I'd probably also have. This is an 8K polling rate PCB. It's not wireless, so this is wired only. Again, might as well just at that point there keep it on, but keep in mind, a lot of people tend to forget about this. To a certain degree, 8K polling rate does affect performance on your computer slightly. So just keep that in mind before you go ahead and be like, this is the best thing ever. This has profiles, something we didn't see in the Ducky keyboard recently that we took a look at. Profiles are nice. Having profiles, fantastic. Love that. Does look like we even have lighting groups or just groups the way we can modify things, which is fantastic. So we can even just add groups here. That is super, super cool. Do the groups, are they limited to 2 keys only? It does look like they're limited to 2 keys. I mean, that's still really nice. So there's some semblance of cool things here for software. Firmware download over there. We have remapping. But in terms of performance, this seems to be everything we have right over here. And then we have some RGB stuff, which me personally, I don't really give a shit about RGB stuff, but it's there. I mean, you guys have most of the RGB things that we've seen on like basically every single keyboard. So software seems like it has enough of what, let's leave it on dark mode. Enough of what I'd want. It's not super crazy like the Wooting stuff. Like Wooting definitely has more to the software than this does. So you can also set your actuation point per key. And then it says right on the key too. A little hard to read, but we do have per key actuation points. We have rapid trigger mode, dual trigger. Again, here's all the software for that over here. And then we have the last win mode, which prioritizes your last keystroke, which again, we have some grouping that we can do for that as well. So the Wooting one has a little bit more to it, obviously. This is definitely a huge step above what Ducky was offering, but not quite as diverse as the Wooting software. But again, I don't really think anything comes close to the Wooting software. I also want to just make a note that I am like not an expert when it comes to all the different features for these types of softwares. Like, I utilize the bare minimum, and for me, playing games, this is actually quite nice to have. I think the main thing for me, like, I love the Ducky keyboard, is I was just missing profiles. Profiles are here. Seems like we got a bunch of stuff that we can play around with as well. I personally haven't utilized ever, even when I have the wooding like on my desk, like I don't really utilize all the software. And I probably could, I just haven't found a need to do it yet. Do you notice the difference when using an HE board while gaming? Yes. Huge difference. It's like the input latency is different, just being able to change things. Like I have this habit where I lean into my keyboard. Like when I'm typing, I type with my back against my chair. Whatever reason I'm playing games, I'm like leaned in. And when I lean in, I tend to put a lot of pressure on my thumb. And I've noticed with a lot of my keyboards, I tend to accidentally trigger this a lot. So what I usually do is I go into the spacebar and change up the sensitivity basically. This is about $200, which I would say like in the gaming world is on a little bit of the high side, definitely. But I think for the quality of what you're getting here and just the, I wouldn't even say novelty, I do like the feature. The next thing is, how does this set itself apart from the competition type thing? Right away, remember I mentioned there's two things where I think this really like shows its strengths. I would say, to go in order, some things I don't like about the keyboard right away. The stock stabilizers need some work. I don't think I love those. I would like an easier way to open up this keyboard. Right now, it doesn't seem like there is a very clear-cut way without having to peel back some of these feet, which I'm worried I'll never get these back on. There doesn't seem to be a clear-cut way to open this guy up. I think that's a huge negative for me. Maybe not for you guys. For me, being able to open something up and then tweaking stuff is a huge deal. I like being able to open it up. I also like being able to like check something if I need to repair. You can kind of argue the right to repair kind of gets limited with this. I would assume that opening this up also probably voids any sort of warranty, even though, that's kind of a no-no in a lot of places in the world. But that's like two things I already don't like about the board. I would love for the front height to be a slight bit lower, but I'm not like overly upset about that. Now, some stuff I like about the board, not love, but like about the board. I like the overall theme. I actually think it's kind of cool. I think they did a pretty good job. I also really appreciate how easy this is to just switch back and forth for their modes of bounciness. Maybe this is a bit tacky and maybe the DrunkDeer on the front is a bit tacky, but it's not terrible. Like, it's not ugly. The side profile's cool on the board too. It's a cool looking side profile. Like, it's a cool looking case. I don't think this is aesthetically like tacky or anything. I really don't think this is tacky. I would have said right away if this was tacky, but I don't think so. And again, here's that little switch toggle for going between the suspension mounts. And then for stuff that's good, but not like the best, software. The software is good. I don't think the software is the best out of all the software. I think it's just enough for the average person to use. Like, just enough. It's not the best. There could be more functionality. I feel like software is something that can always be built upon, which is fantastic. But I always like to say, like, when it comes to these Hall effect boards, I kind of have to look at it what it is now, and the software is just okay. Again, I also heard some good stuff now, some like really good stuff. I don't have a great way to measure this right now. Heard from some friends who've also taken a look at the board, and I've heard from some other reviewers that the input latency for this is, like, the response time is fantastic. That is something that I guess I'll kind of get a grasp for as I play some video games. It almost might not even be noticeable. I've heard that this kind of rivals some of like the better keyboards on the market for response time, which is fantastic. In terms of like raw numbers, I don't want to repeat what they said just because I don't know how true some of those things are. But again, just for the sake of speaking, I've heard it's really good. I'm in the wrong demographic of games. I feel like if you're playing OSU or something that needs like every fraction of, a second when it comes to getting your inputs in. Other really nice things, great stock cable in the box. I don't say this lightly. I think the stock cable that they give you in the box is actually really nice. Some brands would almost charge you like $30 or $40 for this type of cable, but it's a really nice braided cable. So kind of nice to see there. Some extra little keycaps, a few switches extra in the box too. The big selling point on this though, like again, the two things that I think are really, really, really nice on this, the switches. I can already tell you guys, even just typing on these from like, once or twice here, dude, these feel great. I really like these switches. Developed by them apparently. So this is done by DrunkDeer. And then the other big thing, like we showed off earlier, this feature of being able to kind of pop this down and you have a stiffer keyboard. Down is the looser keyboard, so the more bouncy one. This whole feature, this is nice. This is so nice. and then just quickly flipping this over again, and then suddenly you have a stiffer keyboard. I think that is like the, and I don't even think this is gimmicky. I actually think this is really, really nice. You know why I think this is really nice? I actually, because I already knew about this particular feature going in, and I thought to myself, like, why would this be a good selling feature? You don't have to open up the keyboard to change out like a mounting point, or you don't have to like fiddle with things. Being able to just change that with the slide of a little piece of, you know, material here, I don't know what this is, if it's plastic or aluminum, is so handy. Again, Asus did this too, and I really like that about the Asus keyboard, but the keyboard was overpriced. At $200, I think you're getting some good stuff here for a fully assembled stock keyboard. I think this is like pretty damn good for what you're getting inside the box. Definitely errs on the side of premium. The other thing I really like about this keyboard too is the layout. I got to admit, exploded arrow keys, my favorite type of 75%. I really like the layout on this. I don't think I've seen too many Hall effect keyboards with this particular layout. I thought there was going to be a few things I'd really have to criticize and like nail on this board, but I guess if you had to break this down into like sound, feel, software, I think it's like on par with the norm of stuff. Wooting still is better. Wooting has the better software. So this is kind of in the middle. I'd give this like a 6.5, 7 if you have to give it out of 10. But yeah, kind of on par with the course. Keyboard construction, I don't love the ano on this. Like, it's not high grade like the stuff I'm used to, I guess. It seems pretty good though. It doesn't look cheap at all, which is fantastic. And then I would say feeling wise, this is probably the nicest feeling Hall effect board. Right away I can tell you I love this. I think this is by far the best out of all of them. I don't think anything even comes close to how good this feels. Performance-wise, like I said, I want to test that out, but I've heard really good things, and you can even just browse their website. They have so many interesting like tidbits of info there. Oh, this keyboard is gorgeous. I think it's really cool looking. I really do. I think this is a fun-looking keyboard. I think they nailed it. Yeah, talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Later. Love ya.